Welcome to Global Bizapps Day 2020 for people who have joined us just now or maybe a few hours back. In this session, you will see how you can create an enterprise chatbot that leverages Power Automate to change the experience for customers and employers within the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 13 times Bizapps MVP, a GPUG All-Star, and a global technology executive, Mariano Gomez.
Thank you, Prashant, for the introduction. I appreciate it. As I said, very glad being here today. This is actually my first bout with your team and certainly with Global Bizapps, so I really appreciate the invite. And before we actually get into all of it, what I want to talk about today is two basic things. What is this madness that you're going to sign up for, that you just signed up for, and you're going to spend, the next 45, 50 minutes of your day watching? And I'm gonna jump straight into a demo after that. I am no slides guy, so if you hear for slide decks, that's not me. All my presentations tend to be live demos with soup to nuts presentations of the different topics that I try to cover. So I'm gonna make it very hopefully entertaining for you, hands-on. If you have your laptop and you want to follow along, by all means. But at least the concepts are applicable to just about anything you will be seeing. As Prashant mentioned, what I'll be doing today is I'll be showing you how, in essence, you're going to work through chatbots, how you're going to interface that with your enterprise data systems and actually get results back. And I'll expand a little bit more there. My name is Mariano Gomez. I'm a Microsoft Bizapps MVP since 2008. I'm the Director of Technology here at McCorma Incorporated. That's my Twitter handler at DGP Blogster. That's my YouTube channel, mgomezb1. Subscribe, follow, like. I actually post a lot of stuff or do a lot of videos on especially DevOps, chatbots, mixed reality. I kind of cover the gamut of functionality. So there's tons of content on my YouTube channel. Feel free to join in, subscribe, and follow.
Okay. Mariano, I think your screen is not shared.
Did it stop sharing? Okay, let me go back and try that again.
Thank you.
No worries. Keep me posted if something goes haywire.
Will do.
Okay. Yep. So that's, again, I'll leave that up for a second for you to catch up. And the next thing is, what is this madness? So as I said, today we're going to actually talk about building data-driven chatbots. The reality is, it's great to actually build knowledge-based articles and information that customers can query, but those chatbots are usually self-contained. And as most of you know, the information that we tend to consume lives in databases, lives in environments that are structured, lives in entities that you have constructed and that your business relies on for the longest time. So I will show you how to leverage, in this case, Power Virtual Agents and Power Automate to get to that data and present it in a different fashion. As a side note, we're going to be talking about solutions. We're going to be talking about connectors. So lots of content, and hopefully we can stand into it. Okay, so that's it. That's all the slides that I have. We're going to go straight into demos. And I'm going to minimize this. And we're going to come over here for a second. So picture this, guys. This is Microsoft Dynamics GP. It's an ERP system that Microsoft built in the late 80s, early 90s, and was acquired by them through their Great Plains relationship. But the bottom line is, like any other ERP, you have the ability to do things. So for example, if I'm an end user and I want to actually get a customer balance, most likely I'll go to the receivable summary here. And what that is going to allow me to do then is inquiry information from a specific customer. So if I have Aaron Fit 001 and I just hit calculate, most likely I'll get their balance. Currently they owe 24,272.06, and I can see other information. The same thing I can do with supplier or vendor information. And as you know, this is the typical day-to-day user experience, whether that's in Dynamics 365, whether that's in Dynamics GP, or whether that's SAP. Users tend to live in this type of environment day in and day out. Now, the other thing that makes this experience a little cumbersome is most of our users nowadays are actually working remotely from home. So bandwidth capabilities and just the ability to get what they need needs to be improved, needs to be more efficient, and at the end of the day, more practical. So why would I want to put a user through this experience of having to navigate multiple windows through an ERP system when I can deliver specific information with a better experience via chatbot? So what I want you to see is the following before we jump into how I built it. In reality, here's a chatbot. This chatbot is called Andrea. And I could actually tell Andrea, initiate the conversation with her, right? So here's, I'm gonna say hi. And this particular chatbot then is gonna start a response with me. So it greets itself, and then it tells me, what can I help you with today? So I'm gonna do something as simple as say, give me a customer balance. All right, so I'm just got that customer balance. Okay, and that customer balance is gonna ask me which customer would you like to inquiry. Now, you guys can build any sort of messaging you want, however you want, in whatever shape, form, fashion you want. Also, these bots support various languages, so technically speaking, you could actually build these in your own native language. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna say my customer is Aaron Fit 001. Again, this is an ID. You could implement it to ask a customer name or for a customer name, or you could implement it to ask for any other category that you consider, or any other data property you consider necessary. So if I go and look for Aaron Fit 001, what this is doing in the interim is communicating with a flow that is built for this particular chatbot, and then it retrieves that balance for me. Okay. Now this experience is actually much more user-friendly. As you can see, the information that I retrieved was pretty quick. It was delivered efficiently. And now it asks me, did that answer my question? Let's say I say yes. And to piggyback a little bit on the prior presentation that you just saw, you have the ability to also do error handling. So I'm going to show you something very interesting. In this case, I'm going to rate this experience. I'm going to say I did great. Tells me thank you for your feedback. And after that, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say help me with something. Yes. There we go. So it says it's listening, and I'm going to type in again customer balance. What if I type a customer that doesn't exist, right? So let's say I type in does not exist. All right, that's a customer balance, a customer ID that doesn't exist. So what I would expect is my bot to handle that as well, right? So that customer does not exist, and then it can provide me, or I can actually provide the end user with a path to escalation into how they're going to resolve this problem. So in this case, I can transfer them to a live agent, or I can transfer them to a link inside my ERP that will then launch this particular ERP system and take them to a specific area of the ERP where they can find more detail if that's what it is. And another part of that is I can say, okay, well, you know what, maybe I'm looking for a vendor balance. All right, and which vendor would I like to inquiry on? Then I can say advanced 001. Let's say that's my advanced office systems vendor. So again, this experience is exactly the type of functionality that you would like to provide to a user. And the good thing about this is to get certain concepts out of the way is you can actually publish this to a number of channels inside your organization, whether it's a Microsoft Teams channel, whether you're going to publish it to a demo website, a custom website, a mobile application, Facebook, etc. You have many outlets in which you can actually deliver and consume this particular bot. Okay, so enough of that. You're not here to see me work through an existing bot. You're here to see me create a new one from scratch. So the one thing that that I want you to keep in mind here is you have the bot panel here. So here is actually where you can go and set up a new bot. And I'm gonna do just exactly that. So I'm gonna set up a new bot. And what this allows me to do then is to label this bot. So now I'm gonna set up a new bot called Crystal. Okay. And here you can define the languages that you can use. So I think currently there are over 20 languages that are supported. There's 5 new ones in preview. So these are coming very fast and rapidly into existence. If you actually look at Bot Framework supports more languages, but these are the ones that are exposed to Power Virtual Agents, which is actually built on top of the Microsoft Azure Bot Framework. Okay. Now, as far as environments go, you can actually create an environment from here. Obviously, you have to be an admin, or you can select an existing environment that that is already set up for you. So I have an environment here called Global Bizapps Day. One thing about environments, you will want to make sure that if you set up your own environment, that you're selecting your own publisher. I know that there's a default CDS publisher and there's an environment publisher, but the importance of environment is, if you are actually, or publishers are, if you are setting up your own ISV experience where you're going to deliver this as a commercial product to somebody or to be sold on the App Store, you need to set up your own publisher. Your own publisher allows you to define things like your organization's name, contact information, and who customers can contact. Customers who purchase your solution, who they can contact in case they have either marketing questions or sales questions or support questions for that matter. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hit create here. And that's going to initiate the process of creating that bot. So what is happening here in reality? In reality, what this is doing is provisioning all that Azure supporting infrastructure that is necessary to support this bot. So it's actually creating the Azure Bot Framework services for you. It's actually wiring up all your user account information to those services, and a myriad of other things that happen in the back. So setting up obviously a billing account that where you can get billed for these services and so on. So we'll give this a couple seconds. It usually doesn't take that long. So there we go. I think it's actually wrapping up the experience, the creation experience, and we are actually getting a refresh of that bot creation process. Okay. So this is Crystal, and Crystal is just about functional. So if I say hi, in this particular case, I should get a response from that bot. So you're going to ask yourself, well, how does that really happen? Well, the first thing that you need to understand is there are a number of topics that are delivered out of the box. Those topics are the ones that you are going to in some way piggyback on to basically build your chat experience. There are 8 system-defined topics. These cannot be removed, they cannot be renamed. They are basically the core topics that make up your bot. What you can do, however, is customize them. So for example, this greeting, if I click on the greeting topic, I can customize it and personalize it a little bit more based on my my requirements. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click on the go to outer in canvas, and you can change, by the way, in the previous screen that I was on, you can change things from all the triggering phrases if you want. Make them yours, make them more understandable to the people that work with you in your organization or your customers or whomever you're going to deploy this to. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I'm a virtual agent. I can help you, blah, blah, blah. That sounds really, really cool. So for what we want is we want to make this a little bit more personal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paste this over here from my notepad and see this is now a much warmer experience to the end user. And I'm going to hit save here. Good. So if I now go and retest that bot, so I can just go ahead over here and click on and say hi, for example. That's going to be my trigger phrase. Then this is actually much more friendly to the end user. And now I have customized it a little bit. Now I'm going to start with, this is Crystal. I can help you with customers and vendors account information. So now I have actually guided the user as to what this bot does. And this is actually tip number 1. Make sure that your greeting messages are tailored to the experience that you expect the user to get delivered. So this is actually telling me now that this bot is actually going to deal with customer and vendor account information. Boom, easy, simple, and something else that that I think will help you in building your bots. Now here's one thing that I don't want to see you doing, because this is tip number 2. I don't want you to actually then add more information or more nodes to this particular greeting topic. And here's why. Every topic that you create needs to be independent. So keep in mind that a user may not necessarily start from saying hi or engage in the bot by saying hi. I can go directly and probably type customer balance, right? Or get my customer balance. Well, if I don't have a topic to handle that, how is it going to know what to do, right? So that's tip number 2. So what we want to do is we want to go to topics, and now that we've actually customized our greeting, what we want to do then is we want to set up a new topic. That new topic then is going to get all my customer information. And although these things say optional, please don't make them optional. Describe what you're doing. So let's say this is going to get retrieve customer balance from ERP system. That's what it is. All right. So the next thing I got to do then, and this is super intuitive, is kind of like you move from left to right. So I actually define my bot. Then now I'm going to actually define the triggering phrases. So I can say something like get customer balance. Okay. Retrieve customer balance. Or I can say, what's my customer balance? Or I can say something like customer balance. Some people don't like typing questions. And I can say something like customer balance, please. Okay, so those are my triggering phrases. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is as you start to use these bots, as you start to engage the bot with these triggering phrases, if you say something as simple as retrieve balance, then the bot will start to infer and understand what it needs to do with that information. So the other thing is the learning aspect and the learning capabilities that are built into this platform to assimilate the user experience and learn from that engagement. And that stuff you can see in the analytics of the bot, but that's something that we're going to talk at the very end of this conversation. So the next thing you want to do then, before you can move to the authoring canvas, you want to save this topic. And we're going to actually go to the authoring canvas now. All right. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to ask the user, what are they going to do? Once they engage the bot with the customer balance, all right, we're going to want to ask them now how they want to participate with this bot. So I see, you can put a message here. I see you are asking me for a customer balance. All right, and then now we're going to ask a question. We can say, which customer are you interested in? Okay, so that's something that's going to be presented to the end user. Now, this is super cool. This is probably one of the most powerful capabilities that I've seen built into chatbots. So now you have the ability to ask a question, and you can choose several types of questions. You can choose multiple choices. You can say, whatever the user type, that's the entire response. You can make it about the different entities that you've created. So age, Boolean, city, color, and so many other pre-built capabilities that are there, phone numbers. So if you're actually asking for a phone number, it's all validated for you at that point. Okay, and that will depend obviously on your environment settings as far as the locale that you've defined. So that will help the bot in validating that those entries correspond to a phone number, for example, if that's where you are going with this. But what I want is simply capture this as the user entire response. Now, the thing is also, I can save that response in a variable. So that variable will then allow me to interact or to produce some sort of capability with that response and save it somewhere. So here, I'm going to save this as var customer ID. Okay. So the other thing here is you can limit the scope to this particular topic, or you can actually make it sort of like a global variable. So any other topic can access this particular variable. So that's super cool as well. I find that to be very cool. And then the next thing is, once I've actually saved the user response, now this is where the magic happens, because now you have the ability to call an action. And in this call an action, what I'm going to do is then I'm going to actually tell it to call a flow. Now I have some flows previously set up, so we will use those just in case something doesn't work out here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new flow. Now, I want you to also keep this in mind. If you create a flow from your bot directly, you will be actually, and this is for those of you who are interested in licensing, the API calls that are made by this bot are actually drawn from the bot API calls. So I think there are 15,000 API calls available with your Power Virtual Agent license. So automatically those are drawn from the Power Virtual Agent pool instead of being pulled from the flow pool. So if you have Power Automate actually license, those API calls are not going to be drawn from your Power Virtual Agents license. I'm sorry, Power Automate license. They're going to be drawn from your Power Virtual Agents license. Okay, so here the important thing is to continue, so that I keep the continuum going and actually create the flow directly from here. So now that is going to open up the designer, the flow designer, and it actually creates two immediate entries for me. It allows me to create it sets up the trigger for me, and it sets up the return action as well. That's going to return a value back to that bot. First things first, this is something else that I've seen many people trip on. Yes, you can actually name and rename your flows if you want. In this case, this one is going to be called obtain, so not to collide it with the other one, obtain customer balance. Okay. Now, I'm a professional developer, so for me, spaces and stuff in object names, that's like a no-no, but you can name this however you want. All right. The next thing is here in the input, what I'm going to pass into this particular button is the customer ID. Okay. And I can make this a little bit friendlier. I can say, please enter customer ID. Okay. Not that this is going to be triggered or anything from here, but you get the point. And the one thing I can do then is I can insert steps. And this particular action in this case is going to be a SQL Server action. Okay. Now, this is super cool because now I'm actually reaching out to my ERP system, which resides on premises to begin with. And I'm going to actually reach out to it via the gateway, on premises data gateway, through a SQL connector. So keep in mind that these, I guess what I'm going with this is these flows and these bots can be as complex or as simple as you want. You can use just about any data source supported, any connector that is supported, including your custom connectors, if you have any of those, to retrieve data from wherever you want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually use the get rows. And again, anything labeled premium, keep in mind that you have to have the proper license for. But in this particular case, my server is out. I already have created this connector. So that's the SQL connector that I'm using. It's already pointing to my computer here, my laptop. And the database name that I'm going to use is the one that I set up for the connection. And like everything in life, you got to know your tables, you got to know your sources of data, your SharePoint list, whatever that is. So this is not different here. And in my particular case, this ERP has a table called RM00103 that stores customer balance information. So if I momentarily slip over here in SQL Server Studio, Management Studio, and I run select star from RM00103, this is the same information that I'm looking at, okay, where I can see the customer number, that's what I'm going to pass in. I can see all the different pieces of data that I can return, but here's my customer balance column, and that's mostly what I'm interested in. Okay, are you with me yet? Good. So what I'm going to do here then is in the advanced options, I told you this would be fun, we will actually now query we'll set up a filter for this OData connection, or this an OData filter, which will limit the return values to that of the customer that the user passed in. So all I'm going to say is customer number equals, and this has to be in OData syntax, of course, customer ID. So that customer ID is exactly what we passed in as an input to this virtual agent trigger. So what I like to also do is I only expect this to return one result set from the database. If that customer ID is not there, it simply does not exist. I don't want to deal with having to return multiple rows and present different options to the end user. And there are things that the PVA team is working on to allow certain interesting things, because there are some scenarios where you might want to return more than one result set, or the values that partially match, and that's okay too. The thing is, you have to deal with how you present those, and right now Power Virtual Agents is not capable of dealing with that type of operation. Okay, so we're cool here, we're good to go. So that is going to return, if I actually run or execute this get rows, it's going to return an array. And what I want to do with that array is I'm going to add an action to then compose, and that action is a compose action. And what I'm going to do with this compose action is I'm going to just return the first entry. And if I want to double be cautious, I'm going to actually run and return the first entry of that dynamic content. In this case, the body value, or the values returned by that query. Hit OK here, and we're good to go. The next thing I'm going to do, by the way, don't be lazy. Also name your actions. I can do the same thing here. I just want to make sure that we keep it tight in terms of timing, so you can have the chance to ask some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and add another action here. And that compose action in this case is then going to select from that result set above just the balance that I'm interested in, just the column that contains the balance. So if you go back here to expressions, you can then type outputs. And this is a little annoying. I wish this wasn't the case, but if I go here, I can then type this and then see, now I can remove the stuff and go back over here and then say all I want is, or interested in, is the current customer balance. In this case, I can go back to Management Studio and see that that's the CUST BLNC column. So again, that's pretty much it for now. So I'm going to return the outputs from that compose, and I'm interested particularly in the customer balance column. Boom, done. All right. So then what are we going to return to Power Virtual Agents? So we're going to return effectively the customer balance. So the value that I want from that is the value from the second compose. And that should be it, literally. If I save this and go back over to Power Virtual Agents, I can then now click here again. I can actually call an action, and now I should be able to see my obtain customer balance flow that I just created in here. Now here's the actual real cool stuff for you guys. Now I can wire this thing up. So the customer ID that I'm passing in, that's gonna go to the variable that I created above, okay? And this is gonna in turn return that customer balance value that I'm outputting from that that element, from that flow. So here I'm gonna actually click on the plus sign, and what we're gonna do here then is we're gonna add a condition. Now this is real cool from a designer perspective. Note that I added a condition and immediately created the branches on the customer balance. So the one thing I want to say is, if the customer balance is empty or has no value, it must mean that that particular customer that was passed in does not exist. So I can message this out, show a message, and say this customer, and I can even reference that variable here so the user can double check, does not exist. Okay, or is misspelled. Now you can provide all sort of things that that will help you in guiding the user through navigating with your virtual agent. On the other side, I can say show a message. So if it's not empty, it must be because the customer did exist, and I can say something like customer balance for a customer, and then I can say customer ID is, and I can pass in now the customer balance here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's really self-service. I don't care how you want to put it, but it's super self-service chatbot experience. If you had to create this in Azure Bot Framework directly, not that you can't do it, it's just less intuitive than this experience that you're seeing here. Now, the other thing I want to do here then is, if this customer doesn't exist, maybe what I want to do is I want to tell the user to go to another topic. And I can point them to either other topics, or I can say, you know what, maybe at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to transfer them to an agent. Okay, and then you would put all the private messages. User is having difficulty with customer, and then this customer ID. I don't know. So that will basically allow a supervisor within the organization to help the particular end user that is having a problem. In the other hand, if I complete this successfully, maybe I want to end with a survey, because that also helps us gauge as builders what that experience is being like and what other improvements we can make to our bot. Okay, so let's save this. And now let's test this thing out. Let's see how this works. So the same thing, you can actually do a topic checker. So that's similar to your app checker or your flow checker. You can do a topic checker. And now you will be able to test this out. So if I say customer balance, now look at that. This is also very cool. The minute you start typing something, you will see that the topic checker or the bot basically starts walking through the different topics that you're visiting. This helps you in troubleshooting, for example, very complex topics that have multi-branching, etc., to make sure that everything is flowing the way you're expecting. Okay, and also what it does is it tracks between topics if you enable here. So if you say, escalate this to a different topic, then automatically you get that transfer from this topic to that one in a graphical user interface that allows you to say where things are going. So in this case, I'm going to go back and say, I'm interested in Aaron Fit 001. What if actually I misspelled just that one? Right? Let's say I'm missing a 1. So right now it's telling me that the bot cannot talk because something happened. All right, that's good. It's good that stuff happens while we're demoing things, so you can see exactly what happened here. Now, if I go back to the topic above, where I actually went to call the flow, if I go to the flow details, most likely I can see in this experience why it failed. Notice that it's telling me that it failed. So I know that the flow failed just because of the type of error that I received. So it's telling me there's an inner exception, customer equals Aaron 001, something happened. So that is pointing to this specific one, and it's telling me that in this particular case, there's an unterminated string literal at position 24. So if I go back to edit this, and I go to the get rows here, chances are if I show this, I'm missing a single quote. Don't ask me why. I typed it in initially, but now it's not here. So I suspect, me personally, that that's an internal bug in this particular experience. But now if I save this again, okay, and I close this once I'm done, and I then go back to my topic and say once more customer balance, I type in Aaron Fit 001. Now that should come back with a result set. Okay, so in this case, it says it doesn't exist. Maybe I actually put in one extra 0. Let's see if that was the case. Oh. Okay, all right, there you go. I was the one who actually entered the wrong information. Let's see. Does not exist, so it's misspelled. Okay, so now we can type in again customer balance. Oh, interesting. All right. So I might have actually mistyped something somewhere. All right. In the interest of time, if we go to view flow details once more, what we're going to see here is perhaps these runs are not being completed. So this one is succeeded. but we can see why it's not actually obtaining the information. So this is all part of the troubleshooting aspect, nothing that you should be afraid of or unaware of. So let's see what is happening here. So the compose is actually returning this information. So this is the balance that I'm interested in, cost BLNC. And basically what I'm getting here is blank. So somewhere I might have mistyped what I'm supposed to return. And I just want to make sure that I take this copy this, edit it, and then go back over here and see what is going on here. So let's take a look at the expression. Something happened with our expression, so that's probably what it is. And then we're going to open this and go back to this compose, and we are going to remove this and make sure that we are typing in customer balance. Okay, I suspect that was the problem. So hopefully that's what it is, and that's where it ends. If not, we're just gonna ignore that for now, because there is, I showed you previously that it does work. So one of the things that we want to go back now is go over here to this one more time and reset this particular topic. And once more, I'm going to type customer balance. So again, we're going to type this one in. And hopefully this time it does perform what we're expecting. There we go. So actually, I thought it was just a column that I mistyped. So now we have our bot is functional. We're going to say yes. Let's just go ahead and rate this, rate the experience, and we're done. Okay, the one thing I want to actually show you is the following. The next thing that you need to really do is publish your bot. Your bot is not functional until you publish it. So we're going to really click publish here. And this is the part that actually will allow you to take this bot to other type of channels that you want to expose it to. So here we actually doing that. It's already published. You will know by this content update up here. And once you go to manage, you can go to the channels. You can say, I want it in a custom website. For demonstration purposes, this creates an iframe. You can copy this, paste it in your website. But I just want to show you quickly how this works. So I'm going to just copy up to here and then go over to my browser and open a new tab and go to that particular bot. Okay, so that should bring the crystal up to the screen, and then I can say now things like customer balance. If I want to publish this in Microsoft Teams, it makes it available for Microsoft Teams again, and now it's in full force for you. So there we go, same experience, just from our browser as such. Okay, boom, that's it. So we're pretty much done with this. The next thing that I get asked is, well, that's all cool, but then how do I actually deliver this to somebody if I have to transfer this to a different environment or create something specific to this particular bot? So that's where solutions come into play. I think over here I have the Power Automate open, and here in solutions, you will want to set up a brand new solution for this. Okay, so the solution does allow you to distribute both the bot and the flow that is a part of that bot as part of the solution itself. I want to make sure that it's not already in here, so let me just take a quick look. And so that's not it. That's perfect. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to solutions, and we're going to click on new solution. I think we have 14 minutes, yeah. So 5 more minutes to go.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to click here on new solution, And here, the solution is going to be called, why not, Andrea, or Crystal Bot, right? This is my Crystal chatbot. All right. The publisher, that's where you can add your own, or you can use any of the existings. Again, I do recommend you add your own publisher. That's going to be always your best choice and your best bet. In the interest of time, if you're an ISV especially, or if you actually plan to have this distributed to App Store, you will want to use your own publisher. In this case, I'm just going to use CDS default because that's for internal use only. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit create. Okay, so that solution is provided for me. And what I can do then is I can open up this bot, or I'm sorry, this solution, and add an existing chatbot, in this case, somewhere down here, that that is a part of that, that I'm going to incorporate as part of that solution. In this case, is Crystal. Boom. So what that is going to do in the back is it's going to actually port the chatbot into the solution. But not only that, it's going to add any flows that I created. I think I have one called obtain customer balance. That is also brought into this particular solution for you. Now, if you want to know how to, bring this experience to Azure DevOps, go to my YouTube channel where you can then see how you can use Power Virtual Agents or the Power Platform in general, how you can actually do DevOps with this whole solutions experience. So this is all I had for today. I hope you really enjoyed this session. If you have any specific questions, I am making myself available for the next 10 minutes and ask away.
Yeah, Mariano, this is Venkat. There is a question. Is there a way to call another bot within a bot conversation? If yes, what is the way to do it?
Is there a way to call another bot? Okay, all right. Let me go back over here for a second. Let me see if I actually have not too many tabs. Give me 1 second here. All right. So here, if I'm not mistaken, in Power Virtual Agents, you have the skills capabilities. That's one way. And that skill can actually allow you to import a skill manifest. And what that will do is it will allow you to bring in, for example, a bot that, for example, interfaces with or was created on the Azure bot framework. That's one way of doing it. So if you have an external bot that you already created using Azure bot framework, all you got to do is enter the endpoint for that bot. You will allow you to actually import the skill manifest and you go from there. That's one. Now, the other thing I believe is in topics. I'm going to actually venture to say is in the topics. In a topic, and I'm just going to bring up any topic here. You can go to the author in Canvas. And I don't know, I'm just guessing here because I'm not sure if I saw it under here or if that's even something that is possible at this point. But you can, here you go to another topic. No, I don't know that you can do it here. I think the only way is by using the bot manifest. You can actually create a, call another bot by using the endpoint that it creates. So I haven't really tried that out. If it's something that you want to see a video on, I will be happy to do the research and actually publish a video around it. Okay.
Sure. Thanks, Mariano. So one more question from my side. What are the best practices to build a bot? Okay.
The first thing that I find that most people are struggling with is not even the mechanics of building the bot, right? Is exactly what am I going to build? More than interestingly enough. So it's not even about the mechanics of building the bot. It's more about how do you actually go putting the topics together. And the first best practice I can suggest is make topics that are cohesive, not super extensive, not super branchy. Make them very cohesive. Okay. What you will find is that a major category topic might have subtopics, and remember that you can create those subtopics as additional topics to the main bot. So don't try to cram one big topic that has, for example, I'll give you one example. Don't try to cram all information related to COVID-19 in one single bot. COVID-19 might have many different aspects that you wanna alter. You would probably want to alter every information about vaccines. That's one topic. Information about about treatments. That's another one, right? So you make sure you're actually segmenting the topics as much as you can, because those will serve as different entry points to your bot as well. So that's one of the main tips that I have. The other thing too is you have access to CDS. So from here, you can actually leverage entities. So if you have information that you need to store, make sure that you're storing them in these entities and create your own entities, extend the entities that are here in order to store information so it's easier to retrieve. I don't know if you saw when we're doing the topics that you can relate those topics to specific entities that you've already created. Okay.
Okay, Mariano. So another question. So generally for any Canvas app or modern driven app, if we are migrating from one solution, one environment to another environment, we could see the connections still present like a dev environment only, right? So what if in the case of bot, if we are migrating from one environment to another environment, how the connections are there? Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
because Azure, just you have used the repo DB, right, to extract the details and all. So if you go for the test environment, we do have other DB and all. So how you are going to configure that one?
I can't talk much about it, but I know there's work being done at the overall platform level to solve some of those little nuances that are annoying to end users. But right now, the only way to do that is if you're actually importing a solution from one environment to another, you will probably be required to update the connections and point to your different databases or whatever, wherever that information resides, whatever source it resides, that needs to be updated during the import. So if you're doing DevOps, it's a little bit trickier because then you have to go back and really try to edit those connectors in your other environment. So, but as I said, there is work being done right now to alleviate some of that pain. I know the team is working hard. They're thinking about different approaches for that. But right now, I have nothing concrete on or information that I could present. That doesn't render me non-MVP tomorrow.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mariano. That was really insightful and very helpful. And I love Power Virtual Agents and how it has enabled a lot of people at their workplace. So
Yeah.
really appreciate this. What I would like to do now is share my screen with you so you can see the chatbot. That we've got a quiz master team. They built a chatbot for the audience, so they are taking the quiz. I'll share the leaderboard as well while you're here. And before you leave the session today, do give it a try.
Well, if nothing else, thank you everybody for attending the session. It's great to see so many people sticking it out until this late, and I know some of you have been for hours on end. So, just a few more hours, guys. Keep it going.
Okay.
great.
Prashant, just to add, the leaderboard is also shared in the chat window already.
Thank you.
Shall I go and stop the recording, Prashant?
Yeah, please stop recording. And if I don't know, I'm having issues sharing my screen. If somebody can share the screen, that would be great.